Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one, we're talking UFC 309 main event, Madison Square Garden. Jon Jones, current heavyweight champion, versus Stipe Miocic, previous heavyweight champion. We're going to talk about this fight. How will this fight play out? Some possible scenarios, obviously. We're going to get into that a little bit more. Before getting started, make sure to like, subscribe, so we can get our community 1,000 subscribers ASAP. That's much, much, much appreciated. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic, right around the corner at this time. A couple of days away, well, a little more than a couple at this point. A few days away, let's say. And one can't help but to think of possible scenarios that this fight might play out. Two modes of thinking when thinking about anything. There's a quick way, instinctive way of thinking, and there's another way that requires you to slow down and try to analyze and go through hypothetical scenarios to, try and see possible outcomes based off certain attributes, obviously, of the fighters that are in discussion. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic. If we are to look at the style of Jon Jones, and how can somebody like me look at the style of Jon Jones and judge him, it's kind of discrediting arguably the GOAT. But it's safe to say that Jon Jones is perhaps the most comfortable fighter in the octagon. I had this thought earlier to myself. I said to myself, well, I truly think, I'm not talking about Jon Jones today. I'm not saying that Jon Jones is far off his prime. There are multiple things that make Jon Jones the fighter that he is, whether it be genetics, skill, mentality, and so on. There's so many different factors that make Jon Jones who he is. It's not one singular thing. Like some people say, oh, it's his reach. There are fighters much bigger than Jon Jones who never even came close to having any sort of success, let alone the success that Jon Jones has had. So it's not just his stature or his reach, it's a multitude of things. But I would like to say, obviously, I said earlier that Jon Jones is perhaps the most comfortable fighter inside of that octagon. I've never seen anybody as comfortable as Jon Jones inside of the octagon. There have been fights where he seemed like he was a bit rushed, but these were rounds and perhaps moments of rounds of certain fights that he's had. And I had a thought earlier. I said the only way for somebody to truly compete with prime Jon Jones, it would be for another Jon Jones. Like if Jon Jones was to face himself, that's the only real way that Jon Jones would have any sort of trouble. And I'm talking about like video game scenarios here. The only way for prime Jon Jones to be in any sort of trouble is for him to face himself, an identical copy, a carbon fiber copy of himself, or a carbon copy, a copy of himself. That's the only way that anybody could give Jon Jones any trouble. I'm talking about prime Jon Jones, and this should say a lot. If Jon Jones comes anything close to prime Jon Jones against Stipe Miocic, then I don't want to get ahead of myself and say that Stipe would be in trouble. No, because I'm going to get to that part in just a second. But it's going to be a 5-round fight. It's going to go the full duration. It's going to be a frustrating night for Stipe, because ideally for prime Jon Jones, Stipe would be behind that lanky reach, jab, the entirety of the fight. Stipe is not going to get in the pocket where Stipe wants to be, and we're going to get into that in just a bit. Obviously, prime Jon Jones is going to be superior in foot movement, switching stances, keeping you at the end of his shots, and when he gets closer to you, the heavens forbid, then you will be welcomed with an elbow. He will embrace you with a beautiful, artistic elbow from the most unexpected angles for a fighter. I mean, we're looking at it from a screen and we're in awe. Imagine you're somebody facing this guy and he gets closer to you. You think you want to initiate a clinch, and he hits you with a spinning back elbow, or something extraordinary to that nature. So if you're not at the end of his reach, he comes in, he's gonna embrace you with his elbow. That's what he does, right? And so on, he can utilize so many. I mean, the way he's finished fighters, whether it be Vitor Belfort, the way he finished Vitor, one of the most iconic fights I believe ever, and so on. Jon Jones has, prime Jon Jones, it's just, he's gonna do whatever he wants to do, but we are talking about Stipe here, so that's why I see this being a technical matchup and a fight lasting 5 rounds. Now for Stipe, obviously, he's going to want to make this a brawl. A guy with naturally shorter reach. Actually, Stipe has a pretty short reach for being the height that he is. Despite the fact that he has pretty good height, the guy actually has pretty short reach, in all honesty. Stipe has, if I'm not mistaken, it's in the 70s. His reach compared to Jon Jones, it's gonna play a factor, I would assume. Now, obviously, Stipe is gonna want to engage in a brawl. He's gonna want to get in closer in the pocket to where he lands those short shots. Now, can this happen? It depends on how Jon Jones show up. I mean, if Jon Jones allows for Stipe to put Jon Jones against the cage and land those short shots, then obviously that would be, trouble for anybody, including Jon Jones. I mean, Stipe has had the who's who in that heavyweight division in his as his previous opponent, whether it be Ngannou, Cormier, and so on. And it could be devastating for any opponent, obviously, to be on the receiving end. But as I said, if it's prime Jon Jones that shows up, Stipe will be behind that long, lanky jab reach the entirety of the time. He's going to be picking him apart from distance, switching stances. And when he comes in, he's going to come in with elbows, and whatever else he chooses to utilize, because prime Jon Jones, as I said, is unmatched unless you put another Jon Jones in front of him. No disrespect to Miocic here, obviously greatest heavyweight of all time, but I think this might change soon meaning UFC 309. Wish both guys the best of luck. And I'm super excited for this one. If you made it this far, I appreciate you for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe for more.